A priest explains why the new Exorcist movie is potentially dangerous. Real-life priest Helen Hall takes a look at how even fictional depictions of demonic possession can be harmful. Nobody, the article has the scenes from the spoiler Exorcist, The Exorcist Believer. That's the name of the movie. Nobody who watches The Exorcist Believer could claim that they did not get what they expected when they bought their ticket, she says. Two children experiment with the occult and inadvertently open the door to demonic forces that rapidly overwhelm them. They disappear for several days, and when they are eventually found, they display erratic behavior that rapidly escalates into uncontrollable violence. Their parents seek to discover the cause and reluctantly conclude that the answer lies in something supernatural and evil, and they all struggle to reconcile what they are experiencing with their various worldviews before eventually calling in the service of spiritual experts to perform an exorcism. And as the events play out, there is a liberal splattering of gore with the obligatory twisted heads and spewing of foul fluids. The power of unity. It's striking that these elements mirror what was presented to audiences in the 1970s with the first exorcism film. Even the central theme of belief is nothing new. A priest undergoing a crisis of faith and the central protagonist of William Blatty's original Exorcist novel. There are some aspects of The Exorcist Believer that do reflect its 21st century context, however. A team of exorcists who battle the demon are drawn from a variety of religious backgrounds and act together in a common cause. The message is that these believers have much more that unites them than divides them. Haitian spiritual practices and African American root doctors' traditions are presented as aligned with light rather than darkness, and this is extremely welcome. Given the amount of media that treats indigenous religion as sinister and demonic, this positive portrayal is a commendable choice. Equally, the decision to have Christian characters of various denominations stand alongside one another, as well as a traditional African American healer character, I guess they mean shaman here, makes a powerful statement about community and togetherness. But this homogenizing approach is also problematic. The film asserts that exorcism exists in every culture and suggests that all people engaged in it are effectively doing the same thing. In reality, this is an oversimplification with some potentially dangerous implications. And the dangers? The term exorcism can be appropriately used to describe rituals from many global traditions if it is defined as a practice that aims to free a person, place, or object from a negative spiritual influence. However, this very general category contains hugely diverse ideas. There is immense breadth in both underpinning belief systems, which span almost all forms of spirituality, including Roman Catholicism, Pentecostalism, Islam, Wicca, and Hinduism, and also the means used to expel the malevolent spirit. These distinctions matter, especially when it comes to weighing up the balance between autonomy and protecting the person in real life. Exorcisms. Any legal framework that respects democratic and human rights supports freedom of belief and cultural diversity, but it must also protect those not fully able to advocate for themselves. This means decisions have to be made about when to permit exorcism rituals involving children and adults suffering from mental illness or impaired capacity. When making these decisions, both the nature of exorcism rite and beliefs surrounding it are critical. Some cultures see possession as an unlucky accident that can happen to anyone, whereas others regard it as the result of either some deliberate act of wrongdoing or inherent flaw in the character or even soul of the supposedly possessed person. Some faith traditions consider afflicted people dangerous, leading them to be shunned or even attacked. In such circumstances, cooperation with the proposed exorcism ritual may be a person's only option for reintegrating within their community. Also, some traditions believe that an evil entity is capable of hijacking a human body, suppressing the will of the host. In these circumstances, any resistance to the exorcism may be understood as coming from the spirit rather than the person, and therefore ignored. On the other hand, if the victim of possession is sought to retain some residual will, then any reluctance to participate in exorcism may be treated as evidence of a desire to choose evil. It's also important to appreciate that modes of exorcism vary enormously, from quietly spoken prayers to violent assaults. Dangerous or abusive practices may also be employed. People may be encouraged or forced to ingest substances that are either harmful or risky because of the dose or manner of administration. There have been exorcism-related victims caused by salt poisoning, dry drowning from water, and even a near-fatal dose of intravenous drugs. Taking all of this into account, conveying the message that exorcism is an essentially positive and universal practice shared by many cultures is potentially dangerous. Of course, cinema goers are capable of distinguishing between fact and fiction, and nobody would suggest that the Exorcist films should be treated as documentaries, but pop culture does influence people's perceptions. Public authorities do not always fully understand the beliefs and practices of minority groups, and this can cause problems. They may incorrectly perceive a situation to be risky and intervene when it's not unnecessary. Alternatively, a vulnerable person may be left without help because police or social workers misguidingly construe harmful practices as acceptable due to the cultural context. So these kinds of mistakes have contributed to preventable exorcism-related victims, including those of children. The Exorcist believers' treatments of exorcism is a simple and benign phenomenon spanning cultural and religious divides is not accurate or even desirable, even in the context of a horror film. And this is written by Helen Hall, Senior Lecturer, Nottingham Law School, Nottingham Trent University of the UK. This is from the conversation written here under Creative Commons, license on Unexplained Mysteries. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.